You've all heard the expression, this next man needs no introduction. I think in this case, he really doesn't, but he deserves one. He's one of the most incredible men I've ever met. He is a man of passion. He is a man of vision. And he's a man who says he's not a self-made man. He always wants to make that clear. Everything he's done in his life has been because of the people around him. Right now, we are all fortunate to be together. And we were talking about this actually with soccer going on, or football as you guys call it, the European Cup. We were talking about all the different teams. And we kind of came up with the thought that I thought was a beautiful sentiment, is today we are all united on Team Earth. And we're proud to have one man helping spearhead our vision for a safe Earth. Let's take a look at who this man is.
Come on, together, we will welcome you.
Climate change is truly our planet's pandemic.
Never ever give up. Keep on going.
He's a world champion bodybuilder. He's one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. He's been a governor, but most importantly, he is a climate action hero. Please welcome Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. Proud to be here with you guys.
Get to the chopper. Icy, come on, do it. Guy. Anyway, President van der Bellen, Chancellor Kurz, ladies and gentlemen, it is great to be in Vienna. And it's great to be back in Austria, my home country. I love being here. And it feels so great to be with all of you again. I feel so happy that actually I should have organized a polka band to play up here on that stage to really celebrate all this. And I'm happy really to be among so many great people. But before I go on with my speech, I just want to say thank you to a few people. I want to say thank you to President van der Bellen for his continuous support for this environmental conference. Thank you so much. Chancellor Kurz, thank you very much for all your help and for your support. Monika Langthaler and her entire team that have worked 24 hours a day for the last few months. Incredible. Thank you so much for putting all of this together. Thank you. Let's give a big hand to those people here that have been such supporters. I also want to say thank you to the speakers. We have some great speakers here today. And to the sponsors, because without the sponsors, we don't have anything. And to all the guests that are here today. And especially I want to say thank you to Matt Eisman, who came all the way over from the United States. He, of course, is the host of American Ninja Warriors, big star in America, and he was the winner of the Celebrity Apprentice. And I told him when he won that event, with me hosting it, that he will be doing exactly what I tell him to do for years to come. So I've been sending him all over to do emceeing jobs and to work very hard. So thank you very much. Let's give a big hand to Matt Eisman also for coming over here. I'm happy to be among people that I admire so much for their dedication to a cause that is larger than themselves. I mean, you can't get a cause that is larger than saving the planet. This is why I love our theme, Healthy Planet, Healthy People. I mean, all over the world, environmentalists are working themselves to the bone, the heart so full of wanting to make things better, often even risking their own lives. I love them and I admire them. So although I may suggest that they're a new approach for our environmental movement, please do not mistake it for criticism of the movement itself. Because that's not what it is. It's just that I want to go in a different direction when it comes to communication. But let me go back to this clip that we saw earlier, the Terminator clip. You know, people think of the Terminator movies that they were just action movies. But there's actually a lot of philosophy in them. Take that line, There is no fate but what we make for ourselves. Basically, that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. Because the Terminator movies portrayed the apocalypse of machines trying to control our lives. It was a frightening dystopian world. But there's one thing, and that is the Terminator movies did not dwell on hopelessness of a solution. No, they focused on human will and on human hope. At the time they were released, Terminator 2 and Terminator 3 were the most expensive movies that were ever made. Well, let me just tell you something about the movie business. No one is going to invest huge sums of money in a movie where there is no hope. Yet frequently, I hear environmentalists talking about the existential threat of climate change. The existential threat. We are going to be eliminated. And what does the public hear? The icebergs are melting, the rainforests are burning, the coral reefs are dying, the polar bears are starving, our cities will be flooded, and our farms will dry up, and our coastlines will be wiped out. And there will be famine and starvation, and people will be fleeing the heat and the rising water, and there will be wars. And by the way, don't use fossil fuels. Don't use plastic. Don't eat meat. So those are the kind of things that we hear. Now, of course, I'm exaggerating here, but is it any wonder that people are confused and tuned out? This movie doesn't have a storyline except constant alarm, which cannot be sustained. As a matter of fact, I just watched a webinar about entertainment's role in climate change. And there was one thing that came out very loud and clear, and that was, don't tell stories where people are stuck in despair. You see, to the public, the environmental movement is stuck in despair and confusion. I mean, we talk about all these different problems, but on top of that, we are talking a language that most people don't really understand. What are greenhouse gases? Aren't greenhouses those nice little structures where they grow flowers and plants inside with perfect humidity? What is climate change? Going from the Siberian snow to the Sahara heat, isn't that a change of climate? What about COP26? What is COP? Does anyone know? How many people know what COP stands for? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, there's over 500 people here, and there's 11 people that know what COP stands for, so that just shows you what I'm talking about. COP stands for Conference of Parties. But then what does 26 stand for? 26 of what? And what is net zero? And what is carbon neutral? And what is carbon free? And what is environmental justice? And what about this 1.5 degrees Celsius? That we can't go any higher of that. How serious can 1.5 degrees really be? And does everyone in the world understand Celsius? Because we in America, we deal with Fahrenheit. So all of that stuff goes right over people's heads. And they don't know, is this one problem or is this many problems? Do we need to fix one thing, or do we need to fix many things? In the words of Winston Churchill, this pudding has no theme. The human brain gets overwhelmed. So do our political institutions. I learned something very important in my bodybuilding days very early on. You can only focus on one thing at a time. I would work on my biceps, then on my triceps, then on my pectoral muscles, and then I would work different muscles on different days. But I could never do it all at the same time. I could never do bench press and deadlift and chin-ups all at the same time. It's impossible. But that's exactly what we do in the environmental movement. We in the environmental movement, we are pumping biceps, we are pumping triceps, we are pumping quadriceps, and we are pumping pecs and traps and delts and calves and intercostals and serratus. I know the president is saying, I didn't even know the body had so many muscles. It does. It does. The problem is not that we are wearing ourselves out here, but we are wearing the public out. To change the metaphor, our shotgun approach is not working. We are trying to hit all of those targets at once. We need a rifle approach. We need to have one target. I say focus on pollution. Focus on one thing. Everyone gets what pollution is. It is simple to identify and to understand because you can see it coming out of the smokestacks. You see it blanketing the big cities all over the world. Doesn't matter where you look, Los Angeles, London, Beijing, New Delhi, Sao Paulo. Everywhere you see pollution. You see the smog that's killing people. Pollution is enemy number one. Pollution kills the coral reefs. It makes the iceberg melt. It is the very thing that causes climate change, and it makes our temperatures rise. So if we get rid of pollution caused by fossil fuels, we get rid of a lot of the other problems. So why aren't we talking about pollution? Why are we always just talking about climate change? Pollution is the very thing that kills 7 million people